All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start by giving all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashem, Rechak, Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. And as always, peace, blessings, and salutations unto the hopeful elect tabernacle of David scattered abroad across the four corners of the earth. Not only do they get the image of the beast wrong and the mark of the beast, but they also get the 7 heads of the beast wrong as well. And this is just a response to this IUIC captain who's going into the book of Revelation, the 20th chapter. And I believe there's other One West groups, that haven't really evolved, and they're teaching the same thing, because I know I heard it in another group. I believe it was the ISUPK, if I'm not mistaken. But they're teaching that Russia is a part of the 7 heads, which when you not only go into the prophecy, but also when you study the history, go into the history of NATO and the EU, Russia has nothing to do with the European Union or NATO. As a matter of fact, NATO was actually formed as a security alliance as an opposition to the Soviet Union, which actually was being dissolved and disbanded at the time of its formation. All right. And thus, they ended up forming Russia after, the Soviet Union disbanded. All right. And, Russia, even though they fell to the Cold War, they started to become a nuclear superpower along with the West. And they were on 2 opposing sides. So how could they have been part of the same beast? But yet, the formalizing of this particular beast was because of Russia. So it makes no sense whatsoever, but I'm gonna just play it so y'all can listen, and then we'll try to get into some of this. And this is why you got to be on point, and ultimately you got to have the spirit. The scriptures say there's a inspiration from the Almighty that giveth us understanding. Roughly paraphrasing Job 32:8. So it boils down to you having the inspiration from the Most High, which is that breath or that wisdom, all right, which comes from the Spirit. All right, and ultimately the prophets is who's going to be inspired by the Most High to be able to break these things down. All right, and you have to be taught these breakdowns, and if the Spirit is on you, you will receive the breakdown. So, this brother in particular, all right, he's just teaching what his leaders taught him. All right, and the apostles and elders, they always stress, not to be don't be mockingbirds, don't be parrots. Really study these scriptures and understand, so that you can be able to teach it and not just hearing it and then reciting it. All right, so he's teaching only what they taught him, and he's just reciting it. All right. Because, if you use your thought and you use your brain, studying the history, you'd ask yourself, what does Russia have to do with NATO? Why would Russia be a part of this power alliance? It doesn't make any sense when you know the history. They're on opposing sides. So anyway, let's listen to it real quick.
Those are the 7 heads of this dragon. Germany, Russia.
Hold up.
But he's devouring, fierce as a dragon. So when you go back to Revelation 12:3, it talks about the great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns. Write this down. Here go the 7 heads in order: Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, Great Britain. These are the.
So he named all those other those Western European countries. But then he mentions Russia. So he named 6 Western European countries, and then he listed Russia. Now, when you understand about the formation of the European Union, it started with the Western European Union, the Western European countries. Going back to 1954. All right, they had they made amends to a treaty that they had in Paris, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go to it real quick. So you just type in Western European Union. It says the Western European Union was a military alliance and international organization that coordinated European security, defense, and military cooperating from 1955 to 2011. And let's deal with the founding. It says the WEU, or the Western European Union, was established in Paris on October 23rd, 1954, after the Paris Agreement amended the 1948 Brussels Treaty. All right, so this is right after, or coming off the back of World War II. All right, when they formalized, this particular union, which it ultimately started with the Treaty of Rome. Then they became what they called the European Economic, was it the Committee or Community? And then it segued into the European Union. And then the original members, all right, it says the original members were Belgium, France, Germany, and which he was going to, when you watch the video, which I'm going to play, he's going to mention all these countries. There's no Russia there. All right, Russia had no part in any of the founding of this particular alliance. All right, so it wouldn't make sense to even add Russia in there. And I'm starting to think that some of these dudes over there, they really don't study on their own. They just listen to whatever the leaders say, and that's pretty much their study. Just listening to those men. They don't actually go into the facts, the documents, the history, unless it's being brought out by Nate or whoever. But Russia has nothing to do with this. All right, it says the original members were Belgium, France, Germany, Great Britain, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. Greece, Portugal, and Spain joined later joined. And these are 10 member states that made up the Western European Union in the beginning. Okay. And then when you look at the flag, it says the Western European Union's flag was dark blue with a semicircle of 10 yellow 5-pointed stars and the letters WEU horizontally and UEO vertically across the center. So it started with with those 10 members, right? Well, they say it initially started with 6, and then you had the other 3 that joined after. All right, and then the rest of the members started joining later. All right. So you see that it has the 10 5-pointed stars on his flag. And then in the prophecy, John seen this beast having 7 heads and 10 horns. Russia is not a part of any of these members. All right. So if Russia is not part of the 10 members, then why would they be a part of the 7? Because out of the 10 members of the Western European Union, 7 of them represent the heads. All right. So this is why you gotta, when you read the scriptures, and study the scriptures, man, you got to confirm it. You know, don't just take men's word for it. Be like the Church of Berea. Search it out. The scriptures say to, you know, study to show yourself approved. It's one thing to teach versus just reciting information. All right. And we know the scriptures say to be apt to teach. And when you teach, you know, you just don't just blindly just give information. You vet the information and then you understand exactly what you're bringing out. Otherwise, you start to sound like a parrot. There's Sirach. Let me see. Sirach 3 and 25. It says, "Without eyes, thou shalt want light. Profess not the knowledge, therefore, that thou hast not." So don't even, if you don't fully have the understanding and can't verify things, then don't even go into it. Okay. And let me get this real quick. There's Sirach 5 and verse 12, and it says, "If thou hast understanding, answer thy neighbor. If not, lay thy hand upon thy mouth. Honor and shame is in talk, and the tongue of a man is his fall." So you want to make sure you're on point when you're going into these scriptures, especially when you're dealing with these prophecies. Because that's confusing to teach that Russia is a part of the seven heads. But then when you go into the formation of the European Union, it starts with European countries. Russia is in Asia. That's not Europe. Because later on, when you hear him speak, he's going to mention that the dragon, the beast, is talking about NATO and the EU. When have Russia ever been a part of NATO and the EU? I'm waiting for that information. And any of you other groups outside of IUIC that still teach that as well. Find some sources and show me where Russia has ever been a part of NATO and the EU. So let me finish this video and then we'll get back to the scriptures.
7 heads, the 7 great Edomite kingdoms that will conquer and colonize through war and bloodshed as a dragon. Let me read again. The dragon has 7 heads. You go to 7 heads in order: Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, and Great Britain. Those are the 7 heads, 7 great Edomite kingdoms that will conquer and colonize through war and bloodshed as a dragon. Let me read again. The dragon has 7 heads. You go to 7 heads in order: Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germany, Russia, and Great Britain. Those are the 7.
So, oh man, how do you substantiate that? What happened to Italy? Where's Italy on the list? So this is how you know, all right, that these dudes don't study. You know, they just basically lean on whatever their leaders tell them. Like, I remember, right, going back years ago when that whole pocket situation was going on, and they one of the dudes that was in a camp that got kicked out or whatever, he put together that whole big production video exposing the IUIC, and in it, you know, you had one of the captains or deacons basically saying that you don't have no head. You know, we do the thinking for you. And it makes perfect sense now. This is why the apostles refer to these guys as zombies. And some of them are actually sincere dudes, but they're just being led astray. It always go back to the leadership. And the scriptures do say this. Let's go to was it Proverbs 29? It is Proverbs 29 and 12. It says, if a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. And you following a leader who has the ability to change. He's constantly changing, switching up the doctrine. You know, he's constantly ambivalent. He shows cognitive dissonance when it comes to certain topics dealing with prophecy. And when somebody has to constantly change something, that means that they lied initially. When you have to keep changing something, you wasn't sure about it the first time. And he's just constantly just, letting it just roll all out because his pride is through the roof. He's surrounded by a bunch of yes men, a bunch of flattery, which the scriptures say flattery work of ruin. He doesn't want to hear that reproof coming from the camp that they declare as the bum camp. All right. But how many times have Nate, initially lied and then did a lot of changing only to come back around to admit indirectly that we were correct by teaching what we were getting on them about. like the Jacob's trouble, for example, that was one. The apostles, this predates when I even came into the truth, and many of us came in, going back to the old school, how they had a testimony about the Cornelius situation. He was one of the dudes that was against that. Go and ask him what nationality is Cornelius now. He's going to give you the real breakdown. And now he's doing all this scrambling with the Mark right now. When he was teaching something completely different, 8 to 10 years ago. It used to be an embargo. Then it became Christianity, and now all of a sudden, it's this papacy that came from Nero that all Roman citizens have to have in order to buy and sell and use his currency. Now that's the mark now. So now it's actually something literal. So, this dude is constantly lying to his congregation, but he has a clever way of masking it up, winging it. And the men that watches him, they don't really test him. They're not trying his spirit by the spirit. The simple believeth every word, but the prudent look well to his going. So this is why this brother right here, he's given a class, but he's only teaching literally what his leader is teaching, and it's totally off. If anything, this is one of the things that you do need to change. All right, y'all need to change this doctrine. Russia is not a part of the seven heads. All right. During the formation of NATO and the European Union, Russia was an op. All right. That was the main reason why they formulated NATO in opposition to Russia.
Heads of this dragon. Okay. Now it also said it had 10 horns. What are the 10 horns? I got them written down for y'all. What are the 10 horns? The 10 horns are, Revelation 17. Okay, here go the 10 horns. Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Denmark, Ireland, the United Kingdom, and Greece. You go to the 10 horns. Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Denmark, Ireland, UK, which is the United Kingdom, and Greece. So when it says 7 heads and 10 horns, these are the 7 great Edomite kingdoms, and NATO, which is their military. Okay? NATO, which is their military. United Nations or European Union.
So notice he named all those 10 countries that make up the beast originally, because we know that, you know, they expanded over the course of time, and now they're like, what, 30 members. All right, with America, you know, leading the charge. That's why she's the great whore that rides the beast. But he named all European countries. Where was Russia mentioned? Because 7 out of those 10 are part of the 7 heads. So where's Russia at? And this is why, you know, when we come into this thing, you know, it's not just about coming in just so that you can sound deep, so that you can go out there and recite a whole bunch of scriptures. Like, you really got to know what you involved in, and you got to know what you're speaking, or else, you know, you could be confounded. Because I'm sure there'll be some Christians, you know, scholars, I'm saying, that would question his notion and probably have him stuck. How do you get to this notion? You know, how did you come up with this, and why is Russia a part of that? Russia has nothing to do with the European Union or NATO. It was never a member of neither organization. So that's why we have to, you know, be on point. And apostles always tell us to, you know, analyze everything. Okay? We got to get very analytical. Now, when the scriptures say, let me get this real quick. And this is what Yahweh Shai actually said. And it says this, John 5:39, it says, search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are that, it's like, and they are they which testify of me. And when you look up this word search, the Greek word is
Strong's G 2045. Eraunao. Eraunao. Thayer's Lexicon Related Entry. Exerainao. Exerainao.
and you go through the definition, it says to seek, to investigate, examine into. In which, when you do that, you're basically analyzing a particular thing. You're scrutinizing it. It says to inspect someone or something in detail to determine their nature or condition, investigate thoroughly, inspect, survey, scrutinize. Like, for example, the latest situation with IUIC teaching that, you know, Nero has to be the fulfillment of the buying and selling part of Revelation 13. But if you actually examine, you know, when you scrutinize that doctrine, Nero was before Domitian, before John the Revelator went on the Isle of Patmos. Nero had already passed on. All right. When you look at the dates of when he reigned and when he died, it was literally decades before he was banished to the Isle of Patmos under Domitian, because it was under the reign of Domitian when he was banished. So that was several Caesars after the fact when he got that vision. So a man that's being analytical, he would be able to, you know, scrutinize it and see that this is not consistent. When you look at the timeline and when you see that John the Revelator saw this vision, and this was a vision that he saw into the future. It wasn't like it was something that was happening contemporary. It was a futuristic prophecy. So if he had this vision in the 90s AD, and this is something in the future, and Nero passed. Let me see what year Caesar Nero passed. So he passed June 9th, 68 AD. All right. 68 AD. John the Revelator, he was banished to the Isle of Patmos in the 90s AD. So we're talking about nearly 30 years after the reign of Nero is when he got the vision. So how would Revelation 13 and 16 and 17 have been fulfilled before he even got the almost 30 years before he got the vision? Doesn't make sense. But this is what happens when you don't analyze, when you don't scrutinize, when you don't do your investigation. This is what'll happen. So it's the same era. You're putting Russia in the 7 heads, but you're saying that the 7 heads in the 10 horns are all European countries. So why is Russia even mentioned? How is Russia in that list? When we know during the founding of the European Union and NATO, Russia was not involved. Russia was an enemy. So this is why, we get into it and we have to thoroughly, fact check everything. Because if I don't really know something, or I'm not too sure about it, I'm not going to go into it. Okay. So let's get let me get this real quick. Full proof. This is 2 Timothy 4 verse 5. It says, "But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry." And that's part of how you make full proof of your ministry, is by searching, scrutinizing, and making sure that you're able to answer every man with grace and with salt. All right. And when you look up that word for make full proof, this is the word here. The Greek word is
Strong's G 4135. Pleraphareo. Pleraphareo.
And in the Strong's definitions, it says to carry out fully, in evidence, completely assure or convince, entirely accomplish, most surely believe, fully know, persuade, make full proof of. And it says down here it says to bear or bring full, to make full, to cause a thing to be shown to the full. The third one, it says to fill one with any thought, conviction, or inclination, to make one certain, to persuade, convince one. All right. And we got to basically do that by providing the facts. All right. You're only going to convince somebody if you're speaking facts, when you're speaking the truth, when you're rightly dividing the word of truth. All right. So this is why you have to try the spirit by the spirit, man. And some of these guys out here, they out here winging it. All right. And this is just another example. And hey, it just so happened the spirit just be zeroing in on IUIC. If they say some things that's correctly, we'll give them their credit. Say they right on that. They getting it in. All right. Same thing with some of the other groups we don't see eye to eye with. They going at it with a Christian or whatever, and they getting it in. And we on their side, and we giving them their props. Like, hey, they getting down. They right. They going into it, breaking it down correctly. We ain't got nothing to say. We're not finna jump on their neck or nothing like that. But the moment we hear something that's going off the mark, yeah, we're gonna reprove you. And that's part of our job anyways, to reprove, rebuke, and exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. So, y'all can add this to the list, man. All right. It's another one of those things that, they're going off on. So they're off on the image. They off on the 7 heads, right? They off on the mark. So it's like this whole, like, yeah, maybe let me get this real quick. Maybe this might be the issue with this camp. Isaiah 29 and let me see. Yeah, this is Isaiah 29 and verse 10, and it says, for the Lord have, I'll start at 9. It says, stay yourselves and wonder, cry ye out and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. For the Lord have poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and have closed your eyes, the prophets and your rulers, the seers have he covered, and the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed. And it's starting to seem that way. Like the more they go off, when they try to go into the book of Revelation, and we finding all these inconsistencies in their doctrine and teachings of the prophetic text in Revelation, is as if Revelation might be sealed to them. Maybe it's certain things that they really can't see because it's sealed to them. And that's why they're having a hard time, getting it. It says, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he said, I cannot, for it is sealed. And maybe Nate just doesn't have the he doesn't have the humility to admit that, maybe going into the book of Revelation is not for him. Because how many times the mark of the beast have to be addressed? Why are you still teaching that the image is talking about Chesre? And then the constant changing. The book might as well be sealed to him. It says, and the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I am not learned. So I don't know, maybe that's a stretch, but I'm just saying, when you go into Revelation 13, when you going into Revelation 20, and he stumbles over, Gog and Magog, which really Magog just means of Gog. All right. But that whole, breakdown when he goes into Revelation 20 to mean that basically Esau is going to pop out in the kingdom to try to rule again. And we're going to have to go to war with him again in the kingdom. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Maybe the book of Revelation is starting to seem sealed to the IUIC, and they just don't know it. But time will tell, man. But anyway, I just want to address this, and Lord willing, this was edifying. Let me give all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And until the next one, Shalom.